So for part 2 of our makeup class, we are going to talk about other aspects of litigation and the documents that are available. One important aspect that you should not forget about, of course, are court rules. As you may remember in the chart we saw in the handout on authority, court rules are part of primary authority. They're not as authoritative as statutes, but they are important. The things you want to remember about court rules, other than the fact that you have to check them, especially if you're involved in litigation, or most especially if you're involved in litigation, is that there are different levels. So you have court rules that are jurisdiction-wide, whether that's a federal jurisdiction or a state. So we are looking, for example, here at your handout, which is available on the course handouts page, at the Federal and New York procedural rules. So there's, of course, the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure you spent most of Civ Pro talking about. We also have the New York CPLR. These can affect substantive rights, like statutes of limitations. Some of these rules, like the CPLR, are actually statutory. You will find the CPLR in McKinney's. They are passed by the New York legislature. That is not true for the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. They are prepared by the Judicial Advisory Committee. But they're, in addition to these jurisdiction-wide rules, sometimes these rules are subject applicable. So, of course, we have criminal procedure and other procedural acts depending on the type of court. We have the rules of evidence and sentencing. We also have court-specific rules. So, the Supreme Court of the United States has its own rules, as do various courts of the appellate courts, as well as New York state courts. So you want to be aware of which rules and which jurisdiction apply, the specific court rules, and actually here in New York we had individual judges have their own rules. Obviously, the smaller the jurisdiction, going down to the judge, the more specific those rules will be. So by specific, I mean you could have words per page as part of a rule. And you can see on this handout, again, which is available on the course website, the different places online you can find these rules. Let's also look at where you can find these rules online. So on Westlaw, and typically, generally, when you're looking for rules, even though they tend not to be passed by the legislature, the CPLR being an exception to that, you still want to look in the statutory area. So, for instance, if we go to the U.S. Code Annotated, actually, what you will find here on the right are federal court rules. So if you wanted to search them on Westlaw, that would be one way. They are also in the USCA as appendices following the relevant title. So Title 8, you find the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. After Title 18, Crimes and Criminal Procedure. Federal, find the Federal Sentencing Guidelines, as well as the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. If we take a look at New York, and we go to statutes and court rules, actually Westlaw puts that here for us if we want to just search the rules of court, but within McKinney's, you can actually find New York federal court rules here on the side. You will find McKinney's actually, if you scroll down here, the table of contents at the bottom, but you saw it pulled out in the prior screen. So that's how you would search the rules independently if you are just doing a search. Let's go back. So let's think about frivolous lawsuits. Again, this is the key if you are looking for rules that have to do with a particular subject, like frivolous lawsuits. You want to go to statutes, and what you'll notice here is good old Rule 11, as I'm sure you remember from the Federal Rules of civil procedure. I'm searching here New York federal and state, so I'll get both at the moment. If I limit our jurisdiction just federal, I do get some statutory results, but I also get federal rules results as well. So here we can see a Court of Appeals, DC Circuit rule, and obviously you can use your filters to limit by these other factors. Let's take a look at what that would look like in New York. So let's get rid of federal. And go down to New York. And you see, of course, the CPLR, as I mentioned, that is legislative. We also see some family court rules. And within New York, we can limit by title to specific rules. What that looks like on Lexis. So again, just browsing. We see federal rules, we go state. So here on our New York materials page, to find court rules by browsing, we'll scroll down under the statutes and legislation heading. Again, that's where court rules are usually categorized. And sure enough, we find New York federal and state and federal rules. And clicking there, we get to the table of contents where we can drill down further to search individual court or rule types, or we can search all of the rules at once. Probably more likely you will be doing a search for a general issue and want to know about a range of material types, including court rules. So back here, if we decide to limit to New York and search for our issue frivolous suits, remembering to spell it correctly, of course. Again, we get our standard Lexis results with our material types, and we know that court rules are found under statutes and legislation. And one advantage of Lexis, I think, in my opinion, is that you can narrow specifically here to court rules to see the results for your search terms. Moving to Bloomberg for rules. Again, on Bloomberg, I find that using the Select Sources option here is the best way to navigate directly to particular material types. So in this instance, we will find rules under U.S. courts. And drilling down a little bit further, we have our federal rules and, of course, our state court rules. And if we go to New York, we can choose to search or take a look at the table of contents to see what Bloomberg has available. Or, as I just mentioned with Lexis, we can do a search for our issue. And in Bloomberg, you need to know, because you may look for court rules here and not see it. You click on See All, then you'll see the option for court rules. And we're going to move briefly back to Westlaw to discuss ethics rules. Searching ethics materials is fairly complex. We're not going to go into very much detail at all, other than for me to note a couple of things. First, how to find them. The best place really is Westlaw, and Westlaw makes it relatively easy if you type in your state, and then you need to remember that they are referred to as the rules of professional conduct, and Westlaw will bring them up here. what you should know is that these rules are issued typically by the bar associations in New York, and those bar associations often issue comments interpreting those rules. Those comments are critical to know about if you are involved in an ethical matter or doing research on an ethical matter, but those comments are not available on Westlaw. So what you need to do is go to the New York State Bar Association Rules of Professional Conduct. And many states have their rules online. I won't say every single state because I haven't checked all 50 states, but many states do, and they're easy enough to find by Google. There's an ABA Center on Professional Responsibility you can find there, and that's probably more than enough detail we need to go into on ethical rules. Certainly on Westlaw, and they are available on Lexis as well. A little more difficult to find, honestly. I suggest that you contact their help should you need it at that time. But it is available in the statutory code, just as I said, a little more difficult to find. So probably more importantly, help in understanding the court rules, whether they are statutory procedural rules like the Civil Rules of Civil Procedure, the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, or the New York CPLR, or they are more specific to courts. You want to look at some secondary sources. You may remember one good way to find secondary sources is to check a legal research guide. And here's our recommended legal treatises we used earlier in the semester for secondary sources. And we have a civil procedure heading under C. And you'll see two of the leading treatises on Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Wright and Miller, Federal Practice and Procedure, Moore's Federal Practice. We also have a section for New York, and if you are practicing in New York, these are two resources you want to know about. New York Civil Practice CPLR, it's referred to as Weinstein, Korn & Miller. So if you are working at a firm or for an attorney and she or he tells you to look for Weinstein, Korn & Miller, this is what they're talking about. There's also New York Practice by David Siegel, a shorter one-volume set as opposed to a many-volume set. These are both standard treatises that are used for New York Civil Procedure. For those of you going to other states, learn your treatises in those states. Again, legal research guides from law schools in that state might help you out a great deal. You might also want to look for state practice books. So for instance, in Massachusetts, there's Massachusetts Practice will give you a treatise to help you with all the aspects of practice, but it will also help you understand how the rules apply to a particular situation. One odd quirk here in New York is that there is no set body of rules for evidence in New York. New York will refer to the Federal Rules of Evidence. One place to see how that would all work out practically, to get some background again, our secondary sources. And there are a couple of sets. The most frequently referred to is Prince Richardson on evidence, but there are these other two sets as well. So that is our quick look at rules. Two other aspects of cases and litigation are jury instructions and jury verdicts. Jury instructions essentially happen at the end of the proceeding, where the judge will ask both parties to submit recommended instructions that she or he, the judge, will then give to the jury. And there are sources, not surprisingly, for these instructions, the most famous of which are known as pattern jury instructions. And you will find many of the different sets of pattern jury instructions on Westlaw, because they're published by West. So if you type in jury instructions, you'll see federal, you'll see a general heading for jury instructions, which will give us this alphabetical list of the different states in which they are available. Notice it comes under secondary sources. Or if you can remember, again, for those of you staying in New York pattern jury instructions. And New York pattern and jury instructions, and possibly other states, I don't know for a fact, but I do know New York pattern jury instructions are actually used not only for the specific instance at the end of a trial when you want to submit jury instructions, but also they're used for as a secondary resource. I have had attorneys, typically attorneys first starting in their particular area, tell me that they have used New York pattern jury instructions just to get a very basic sense of a particular area of law. So I pulled up the New York pattern jury instructions and I typed in a hypothetical malpractice attorney search, just so you can see what the pattern jury instructions look like. And so it basically, what PJI, as it's known, will describe are the elements of a particular claim. So we're talking about negligence here. And to establish liability, AB must prove preponderance of the evidence. So you get a sense of what are the basic components of this particular issue. There's even a comment, as you can see, to help explain. You've got citations to cases. So again, classic secondary source, give you a start on your research, basic explanation, terminology, and citations to primary sources. So here, we can see an action for legal malpractice requires 3 essential elements. So again, PJI is good not only just for jury instructions in New York, but actually as a basic source, as a basic secondary source. Looking at other types of jury instructions, you will find New York criminal. Now, PJI, New York jury instructions is civil. You will find criminal jury instructions online only, interestingly. And good old Google once again. And there are many places you'll find this link, but it's just as easy to get there from Google, as you can see. And here are the New York criminal jury instructions. So you can look at instructions for general applicability, and here's what it looks like, different aspects of a criminal proceeding. Okay, Lexis does have jury instructions, but I have to say, because Lexis doesn't have PJI, which again is a West publication, so Lexis isn't going to have it. The coverage is not quite as, or not nearly as good, especially for New York, again, because the New York PJI is publisher specific. But what Lexis does, because it doesn't have the source that everybody refers to, is it will produce for you, let's see if we can pull it up, actual jury instructions in a case. So you can see it, citation. This is to an actual docket. Remember our dockets we talked about in the last screencast? So here is an actual docket. Now this is a Texas case because I didn't limit it to New York, but we could limit to New York to find New York-based jury instructions. And we do that, of course, on our filters, and we click on more because New York is further down in the list. And sure enough, there's only one. Not as good, nearly as good as PJI, but if you are in an institution that only has Lexis, at least it's a little bit. Okay, and once again here on Bloomberg, once again we go to select sources, really the best place to find specific types of resources. So under U.S. courts, we will see what Bloomberg has available for jury instructions. Here's what available for federal, a bunch of district courts, and for states,
as we investigate New York, we see that really only criminal jury instructions, which again are available for free on the web. Let's move on now and discuss jury verdicts. You might be interested in finding out about what damages have been awarded at the last stage of the trial, at the verdict stage, to see what you might want to ask for your client. And you would do that using jury verdict resources. So let's go to Lexis. I happen to think that Lexis's version of jury verdict research is the neatest. It has the neatest features available. And to look at those, you would go here to this grid at the top left. We're currently at research. You want to go to Verdict and Settlement Analyzer, and this is what that looks like.
So notice I have limited to New York, and let's search for legal malpractice. And notice I'm using the quotes. You need to use the quotes. If you don't, you'll wind up getting a message telling you that you have too many results. And why I like this Lexis Advanced Verdict and Settlement Analyzer is you get these neat graphs. So you can get all sorts of graphical number of cases per year by resolution, some neat information, and then you can scroll down and take a look at the actual verdicts themselves. What I'm going to do is I am going to filter by word amount, and I'm going to say low 2 million, high 8 million, and you may think I'm crazy. But sadly I'm not. The verdicts are that high. So if we were to take a look at one of these super duper high verdicts, wow, there are a lot of them. So here's one close to 8 million. Let's take a look at that. And it's recent too. Plaintiff verdict. So legal malpractice. So be warned. But you get a sense of not only what the numbers are, which I know is kind of dramatic, but you also get a summary of the case. So you hopefully can read and understand why that verdict was so unbelievably high. And yes, you can limit by more than just verdict amount. So we saw when we were looking briefly at the filters. Go back one more. So you can limit by different aspects as well. Interestingly, let's see what that one looks like. Injury.
This injury filter might be particularly useful, so you could narrow down to whatever your client's particular injuries or circumstances are, and there is, as you can see, plenty to choose from. You can also research this information on regular Lexis, but without all of the pretty graphs and charts. And of course, to get back to regular Lexis, we go back to research.
So let's definitely find some jurisdiction. Actually, within your jurisdiction, you can search, and this search will search the same information, it just won't give you those nice graphs. You can do this also on Westlaw. Admittedly, you don't get those nice graphs. So let's go back and limit by state. And you can see actually we could just search so we could just search jury verdicts, or if we, well, that's frustrating. I should remember my jurisdiction. Or if we just search all of New York. See what happens if we don't use legal malpractice. So you can see that's a filter as well. So that is it for part 2 of our makeup class. If you have any questions, don't